cold as a razor blade, as tight as a tourniquet, like the skin on a dying man. I don't want a piece of the world. I want the whole world. I make my own rules because it's much easier that way. Trust me.
Jake, we're back, brother.
Oh my God, sunny side up. Here we go.
It's episode 2. Episode 1, of course, a raging success. What do you think, man? You ready to launch back into this whole podcasting?
Oh, absolutely, man. You know, there's so many things I want to talk about, and of course, you picked the one thing that I don't want to talk about. So here we go.
Well, you know, I had to do it, Jake. It's the 36-year anniversary, and it's something that fans are still talking about all these years later. I see it all the time online. People are like, "Oh, when are we ever going to see the lost snake pit footage?" And if you don't know what we're talking about, let's just jump into it. But before we get there, let's talk about your opponent there in the snake pit a little bit. We're going to talk about Hulk Hogan. So
the Golden
Jake,
Goose.
The Golden Goose.
That's what he was, man. He was the Golden Goose of the WWF. Without Hogan, it probably wouldn't have happened near as good as it did. It would have still happened, but it wouldn't have been what it is or what it was, because Hogan was the perfect guy at the perfect time. Vince did what he had to do by getting all the top talent from every territory in the world and feeding them all to Hulk one at a time. And you had your one time around with Hulk, and that was it. You had been beaten severely in every match.
Right.
But that's how you do it. That's how you build it.
Well, and it was the formula back then, and it was a formula that kind of got popularized on Rocky, which is ironic because we're going to be talking about Rocky here. Terry started out, he was bouncing around a lot during the early part of his career.
Don't we all?
Absolutely, man, especially in the territory days. He found himself in Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Memphis, and finally he landed in Vince Sr.'s WWF before he lost that job when he appeared in Rocky 3 against Vince's wishes. It was such a huge turning point for his career, Jake.
Oh my God, yeah.
Would that have been the first time that he was on your radar, or had you been around him previously?
I had seen a little bit of film on him, and I'd heard a little bit about him. That was it.
Now, what were your impressions of him when you were seeing him from afar or in the movie?
Oh my God, he was a monster. You know, he had the perfect thing, man. With all the suntan stuff, man. Hogan once told me, if you have a choice to go to the gym or a sunbed, which one do you do? I said, well, the gym. He said, no, you go to the sunbed, because a fat guy can look good with dark skin.
I think I've heard Arn say that. He says, that looks good tan.
Yeah.
Well,
it's true.
So after losing his job with Vince Sr. and Rock, well, first of all, did you see Rocky 3?
Oh, didn't we all?
Everybody saw Rocky 3. I mean, he's just larger than life. But Vince Sr. is willing to let him go over the dispute. So he lands in Minneapolis with Vern Gagne and the AWA. And a lot of people say it was kind of the true start of Hulkamania. Did you see any of that stuff?
Absolutely. I've seen some of it, and that's what he got on everybody's radar when he went up there. And it was game on from then on. You know, because between that and Japan, he was ringing all the bells, man. I mean, let's look at the guy. You know, he's 6'7", 6'8", 300 pounds, and got guns like that. Not like that. But anyway, he had certifiable guns, you know, and he was the perfect guy. And Vince dressed him up in that bright yellow, and that just bounced off the suntan, man. Made him look even darker.
Man,
there you go.
Yeah, there. Look at that. Look at that tan. It's like a hot dog.
Yeah. Vince Jr. there, he basically got him on a silver platter, handed him out to the crowd. He fed the crowd all Hulk Hogan.
Irreplaceable.
Of course, you didn't see him. You didn't see him unless you went to a pay-per-view or a super huge big house show. He didn't do TV. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Seldom did you ever see him on television.
Be like a promo or something.
Right. The reason being, you had to pay to see him.
It makes perfect sense, and it's Vince Jr. obviously always loved the larger guys, and of course he brings Hogan back from the AWA. Before we get there, though, did you ever do any work with Vern or the AWA?
I didn't, man, and I always wanted to. In fact, I had a match in Toronto with the guy that was their champion for so long, Bockwinkel. I wrestled Bockwinkel, and Bockwinkel was just over the top happy with what I'd done in the ring with him. And he says, "You've got to come to Minneapolis." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll leave now," but I never got the call.
Man, it's one of those wrestling what could have been because of all the different talent up there. But not to mention, Jake, you're one of the few guys that has kind of been everywhere. You were in WWE, TNA, now AEW, WCW. So it would have been cool to add that one to the resume.
It would have been, man, but it was their loss.
No question about it, and that certainly proved itself out when you made it to the WWF. Now, do you think that Hogan could have still been a big star without Vince Jr. in the WWF?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He was well on his way up there, but he didn't have that marketing machine.
Someone that size that looks that good, he can punch his own ticket anywhere. How are you going to put that guy on first match, second match, third match, fourth match? You can't. He's too damn big, too impressive. So anywhere he went, he was going to be main event, no doubt about it. And that's just the way it is, man. I mean, you'd have to come up with something supersized. Maybe somebody like, superstar Billy Graham did it before him.
Right.
The same thing, the tan and the huge guns and the muscles and all that. It was the way the world was changing. It hadn't gotten ready for the Road Warriors yet, but they're coming. But at that time, that's what was happening. It was all the, for lack of a better term, juice monkeys. And that's the guys that use the sauce, the secret sauce, to gain size.
Well, so
big was it.
We're jumping ahead a little bit, but I do want to cover this with you. And I don't think it was in the notes when you came to the WWF and you see all these massive guys, clearly on steroids. Did it ever occur to you like, maybe I need to try it? Maybe I need to go to gas.
Of course you did, and I did. I went on for a short period of time, especially after my neck surgery, because I wanted to heal quicker. But in the WWF at the time, we were working so hard, 7 days a week, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. You needed a little bit of steroids to help with the healing process.
Mm.
Now, some guys took that and went completely off the charts with it, but that was their choice, and so many of those guys are gone now. And I'm sure that had something to do with it, whether it was Randy or the Road Warriors or Mr. Perfect, right on down the line, man. You see these guys before and after that stuff, and it just blows your mind. You can't believe it's the same person.
Right.
Precious Paul Ellering was huge at one time. He had it all, but he had a bad knee injury, and that was the end of him.
Well, the other issue with it, and we saw this with the Warrior, was, he was big and blown up. And then once the steroid scandal happened, he comes back and he's noticeably bigger and smaller. And the same thing happened to Hogan in WCW, where it was like, man, what a huge difference in his physique. So it's very clear that they were on something once that benchmark hits. We're back to 84, and Hogan's brought back in by Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and he's on a run that would honestly not just change his life, but really the business as a whole.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you didn't get there until 86, but when it came to that win against the Iron Sheik, do you feel that represented a change in wrestling from just the standard wrestling to entertainment?
Absolutely. Iron Sheik was an entertainment guy, even though he is, because he's so goddamn funny to watch. But, USA versus the rest of the world, man. That's what it was all about. USA, and then, the Iron Sheik had beaten God Almighty. Sorry, my mind just went.
No, was it Bob Backlund?
Bob Backlund, yeah, who was a tremendous wrestler. Now, he was the guy you would have in there if it was about wrestling.
Right.
But Vince Jr. had already made his mind up. It wasn't about wrestling anymore. It was about entertainment with a little wrestling sprinkled in. And off we went, brother. I was there for WrestleMania 2, of course. And it was just a different world, man, completely.
Yeah, it started to really become part of not, wrestling was its own little category, and all of a sudden it's starting to cross over with pop culture, with the rock and wrestling connection on MTV, and the insane marketing machine that they had up there. So it makes me wonder, Jake, as you're seeing all this happening, from afar, are you like, geez, I gotta get up there, I gotta get into that territory?
I seen it happening, but I was still dug into my belief about wrestling. And I did not want to go up there, but I was forced to. Terry Taylor was a general manager at the time of Mid-South, and I asked him how I fit in the plans, because at the time I was being booked against Dick Slater, and I was being booked on like fourth match, and yet we would go on last and tear the damned house down. They had he had some other people they wanted to put in front of me. It was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. It was also DiBiase, Dr. Death. All those guys were put in front of me. So I asked him where I fit. He told me, you're the number 6 baby face. Can you believe that shit?
So with the hottest finish in the business,
yeah,
the number 6 baby face.
With the hottest angle going, I just dropped Dark Journey.
That's right.
Which was the most amazing pop I've ever gotten for anything.
Incredible.
It was just, oh my God, it was phenomenal. I love watching that tape. We're going to show that sometime. And you
we'll
get to watch the people eject out of their seats, man, when it happens.
If you've never seen it, it is an incredible pop. And we're not going to spoil it, because I do want to do a bonus watch along or something with that, because that is fun.
That's what I miss about wrestling today. You don't get those anymore. Very seldom do you get those huge pops anymore. And there's a reason for that. It's the way the guys are wrestling. They're not building their stuff. They're just doing as much great stuff as they can, back to back to back to back to back to back to back.
Right.
They go out and use 17 finishes and then lose the match on a schoolboy. Are you fucking kidding me? That pisses me off more than anything. Why in the hell are you getting beat by a schoolboy? You would rather get beaten by some slip on a banana peel bullshit finish than get beat by the other guy's finish.
Yep.
Why? If I'm going to get beat, I want to get beat by the nastiest, gnarliest damn finish and maneuver ever done. Not the damn schoolboy, because that just makes you look stupid.
And to your point, if you're sitting there watching a match and it's all high spot, and everything's great, if everything's great, then nothing is great.
No.
You've got to have the build to it. So I'm with you, man.
The people never get a chance to reset their pop meter. They just keep getting it ba-boom, 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 one after another. And pretty soon you're just sitting there chewing your gum going, what the fuck?
Yeah, right.
And there's still a few guys that go out and wrestle. But, man, don't do too much of it or you'll find yourself on first match.
Which is such a shame, man. It's not about it's about telling a story. That's why we're all there. We love storytelling.
Absolutely. And that's how we get connected to people emotionally, not just from the side of all these crazy ass maneuvers they're doing.
I couldn't agree more. You mentioned WrestleMania before. What were you thinking when you saw the first WrestleMania?
Oh my God. When I seen the first one, I was too busy to think anything. I'd heard about it. And I'm like, man, what in the hell is going to happen next? Because that's just it was mind-boggling what they were doing. The pay-per-view and all that bullshit is just crazy because it had never been done before. Not in wrestling.
Right.
And now you got wrestling, you got actors out there in the ring too. Are you kidding me? Aren't we
Liberace.
exposing the business? Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. But the fans didn't care. They just wanted to be entertained.
Well,
And
they got it.
Piper went out there and kept it as real as he could.
They damn sure got entertained. You know, Vince bet the farm and won big time with WrestleMania.
If he had not won, that was the end of it.
Right.
That's what I heard.
It would have all been gone. I've heard the same thing.
I heard that if that had not went well, it was the end of the road. No more WWF because he bet it all. Took balls to do that.
Man, you think about the ripples that would have created through wrestling, the territories, you know, and nothing would have been the same as it is now if WrestleMania 1 hadn't worked.
Absolutely not.
Well, Jake, you arrive in March of 1986, but for right now, let me just ask, what were your first interactions like with Hulk Hogan?
Very short. You know, hello, that was about it. You know, he had his own locker room, and I wasn't one to intrude on their space. And I've just never been one to kiss ass.
Right.
You know, and he had a line of people around him kissing his ass, brother. I'm not going to say any names because that's not my place to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know. And hell, you couldn't even get close to him because these guys were blocking it all, man, because they didn't want nobody to get in with Hulkster. You know, hey, that's the Hulkster. I got it. I got this, you know. And excuse me, brother. Damn, you protect him more than you protect your woman. You know, it's true, man.
These are other wrestlers trying to keep.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, my God. There's about 4 or 5 of them, man. To this day, he still got them.
Well, I'm sure I could guess. Those guys. I'm sure I could guess 1 or 2 names, but I'm not gonna. Yeah. Not, as you said, not our place.
What for?
Right. Well, so, you know, obviously he's got this kind of following around there, and he's got this really close-knit relationship with Vince because he's the cash cow. But I've heard it said a lot that he had this really kind of up and down relationship with Vince.
On again, off again, yeah.
Did you ever see any of that or hear any stories?
No, the only thing I heard was when Hulkster bought the name. When he bought the name from, was it Marvel Comics?
Yes.
When he bought the name behind Vince's back, that was a good blow up there. Because Vince was going to buy it, but Hogan went in there first and got it.
Wow.
That was huge. That was huge. Do you hear that? Huge. Huge. Beyond big. Way beyond big.
Man, it's you always hear about how he's such a politician behind the scenes, the ultimate kind of businessman, positions himself well. You got to give him that.
Smart, man. You got to give him that, brother. I have no bitches and moans about Hulkster doing what he did. Hell, if I'd have had the opportunity, I'd have probably done some of the stuff he did. But I would like to think that I would have wrestled more, you know. But that's just what, you know, Vince wanted what the Hulkster did. If he hadn't, he would have been changed. Trust me.
Yep.
When I tell you that. If Vince was not happy with the match, he would damn sure tell you. And it didn't matter who it was, you know. So Hulkster was doing exactly what Vince wanted, man. He was setting them up and mowing them down. One after the same damn finish. Yep. You know, the big foot. My God, that's such a vicious move.
That does make me wonder, Jake, with you being such like a technician in the ring, when you're seeing this, and there's this guy, I mean, obviously he's got this irreplaceable look, but you're seeing what he does in the ring. Is there resentment where you're like, what the fuck with this guy? You know, I'm the one who's got the moveset.
Sure there was, you know, I hate to admit that, but yeah, there was resentment. There was also jealousy. You know, I wanted to be a part of it, man. And I made the mistake when we first wrestled not to do the same old shit. You know, not to pattern my match with Hulkster the way he patterned every match.
Mm-hmm.
I went out there and tried to do some wrestling and tried to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and that's not what they wanted. It's not what they wanted. The fans, on the other hand, were cheering me, which was a death mark right there.
Right. You're giving them something new.
Well, something they really believed in.
Yeah.
The one thing about Jake Roberts is that he went out there and he freaking wrestled, man. And he didn't go out there and clown around and do funny high spots. No, he went out there and he tried to take your damn head off. You know, whether it was with the short arm clothesline or anything I did was very solid and very tight. Not to the point of hurting anybody, but they damn sure knew I was there.
Well, Jake, let's help our listeners remind their spouses that they're there with a little help from RexMD. Listen, guys, we've all been there. Maybe you've just had a little too much to drink. Maybe you're exhausted from a long day at work, or maybe you're just feeling a little nervous. Whatever the situation is, it boils down to one thing. It's not doing what you want it to. It's time to put your stick shift back in drive, regain your confidence, and skip the uncomfortable doctor's visit with a little help from RexMD. RexMD is FDA approved and the most trusted leader in men's telehealth. They've sponsored this episode to help you always be prepared. RexMD has made it simple, easy, and cost-effective to help the men out there last longer and feel more confident in the bedroom. They've made getting generic and branded Viagra and Cialis easy. Everything's online, even the prescription, and they deliver it discreetly to your door. No waiting rooms, no embarrassing trips to the doctor, no insurance, and no co-pays. Look, nothing makes a date night or an unexpected encounter come to a screeching halt faster than an uncooperative wiener. And RexMD has got your back to make sure that you can deliver top-notch performances in the bedroom. It's fast, simple, and cheap. You'll be getting FDA-approved ED treatments, and you can access your U.S.-licensed RexMD physician anytime you need to afterwards. But guess what? RexMD does more than just treat ED. Their other medications help sexual health, hair growth, pain relief, and sleep. RexMD has already helped over 300,000 guys regain confidence quickly and conveniently, and they're here to help you. You ready for the best part, Jake? Our exclusive deal will save listeners up to 90% off, where they'll only pay $2 per dosage. 90%! Starter packs of generic Viagra or Cialis are available for our listeners to get started. All you have to do is go to rexmd.com/snake to claim this incredible deal. Again, that's rexmd.com/snake to save 90% and regain your confidence. Go to rexmd.com/snake and give the gift of pleasure this holiday season with RexMD. Well, and to your point, that believability that you had, it kind of leads us to the meat of why we're here, in that, you know, through 1986, you established yourself as this very legitimate, dangerous heel. Yeah, a dangerous heel, somebody who's kind of like evil incarnate almost. And you establish yourself in that way. It's your program with Steamboat, with, of course, the famous DDT on the concrete, which we will for sure have an episode about.
Yeah.
Your cerebral promo style, these dark looks you get on your face, Damien, all of this stuff established you in fans' minds as this evil guy. We're on the other side.
Sicko.
Right. We're on the other side. You've got Hulk Hogan, who's this say your prayers, eat your vitamins, this ultimate good guy. So a feud between the two of you felt like a natural fit. Did you feel that way as you were starting to gain momentum? Like, oh, okay, I'm headed for the main event.
Well, I knew I was headed to a main event, but I was concerned with the fan reaction. The fans were cheering me. You know, they loved what I was doing. The kids dug the fact that I'd get the snake out and put it on people, because they would sit there and watch their mama and daddy cringe and be, you know, just, oh my God, that horrible snake. Kids love seeing their parents do that, because they would love to do it to their parents. Are you kidding me? That was the issue, that damn snake.
So the snake was starting to get you over with the kids, which in turn was making you not necessarily a great fit for Hulk.
Right.
I got it. So in the meantime, you're just out there trying to put out the best work you can. And
absolutely.
And were you thinking like, okay, as you're getting these reactions, are you like, all right, well, maybe I am headed toward being a baby face?
Well, I didn't think I was. I thought that when we finally shot something with Hulk, I would be able to get myself over as a established heel. Because he, after all, was the goose. The goose wasn't loose. You had to go to the goose and take your ass whipping and move on down the road, which I was more than willing to do. But when we did the snake pit, in I believe it was Tucson.
Yep.
Yeah, Tucson. When we did that there, and I dropped him with the DDT, not on concrete, but it might as well have been. It was on a stage. It was very solid, and he, of course, it cut him, busted him open.
We've actually got a rare photo of Hulk where he's got the bandage over his eye.
Yeah.
It's a photo that I was sent recently. Not a lot of people have seen this.
No, that's what it did to him.
So you cracked him wide open.
I told Vince, I said, Vince, you see what I did to Steamboat? I don't want to hurt Hulk. Oh, he'll be all right. No, Vince, he won't. And I was right. He wasn't.
I wonder what makes him think he'd be okay.
I don't know, man. You know, I think he looked at Hogan like a tank. You know, impossible to stop, impossible to do anything with because of his size and his stature. But there are things that can hurt you in wrestling, and one of them's the damn DDT, man. And I dropped him, you know, and I went to the back, and Vince is like, "Stay right here by the curtain." He says, "You know what's going to happen next?" I'm like, "What, Vince?" You know, I'm blown up, of course. And he's like, "Here in about 30 seconds, you're going to start chanting, Hulkster, 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 Hulkster." And Hulk's going to come to his feet, beat his chest, rip his shirt off, and then go looking for you. And from that point on, Jake, you'll be wrestling Hulk every night. I'm like, oh my God, this is it, man. It's finally happening. Oh my God, I'm getting the big push. But we sit there for 30 seconds, and then we were there for about a minute. And when Hulk did come up and beat his chest, some people were chanting DDT, DDT. Oh, no. And Vince looked at me and he goes, "You're screwed," which I didn't understand at the time. I'm like, wait a minute. Why am I screwed? The fans want to see us go at each other. As long as the arena's full, isn't that what counts? Absolutely not. What counts is how the merchandise is going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where all the big money was. Now, who did they put most of their money on?
It was Hulk.
Hulk. Hulk had everything. And 10 times of it, 20 times, 30 times more than anybody else. It was all pushed on the Hulk. There wasn't no Jake Roberts shit.
You were a heel.
Not at the time.
Right.
They hadn't started making that stuff yet. And I was doomed. And Vince told me I was screwed, and he was right, man. I wrestled Hulk twice. Wrestled him in Providence, Rhode Island. Set a record for that building that has not been broke yet.
Sold out.
And then we did another one in Montreal at the Forum. And that was huge. But the people were chanting DDT, DDT. And I didn't go out and wrestle Hulk like everybody else did. I went cerebral on him. And,
which do you think that got at Hulk?
Was a kiss of death, yeah.
So Vince
wasn't what Hulk wanted either.
Did Vince like his type formula, or was it more Hulk wanted that formula?
Hulk's formula was the only one that mattered.
Mm.
And I should have been more in tune with that, but I thought I could show him my way, which I thought was better. Doesn't matter what I think. Just shut the fuck up and get in the car. You know? That's all it is, brother.
Well, you said it was December 10th in Tucson, 1986. So we're coming up on that anniversary. I do want to double back. The story is phenomenal, and it's something, as I said, fans are still curious about today. They're dying for WWE to release that footage. I don't suppose they ever will.
No.
But when Vince first comes to you with this idea that you're going to be working with Hulk, I mean, what's going through your mind? Like, okay, this is it. I made it.
Oh, man, he just told me at TV. He said, "You got Hulk out there. You guys are going to do a little something."
You didn't know until day of?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a savvy veteran. You're a second generational guy by this point. I mean, still though, here's this giant opportunity in the hottest company in the world. I mean, does your heart start beating out of your chest when you get this news, or how are you feeling?
No, I felt like I was being choked. I felt like I was being smothered, and that's anxiety.
Right.
But I was jacked, man. To when we did it, we went out and did three snake pits, and on the third one, I got him. Threw powder in his face and then DDT'd him on the set, and busted him open. And went back to the back and waited, and the fans rewarded me with DDT. Fans, I love the shit out of you, but you know how many millions of dollars you guys cost me? Oh my God. Probably $10 million down the drain.
Oof. I mean, between the house shows, pay-per-vieiew, etc., could have been a lot. Let's talk about Hulk Hogan's perspective. We got yours, and Hulk did an interview with Sky News Radio in 2013, and here is his take on the scrapped feud with you. There were several guys where there would be a feel in the ring, or you could tell right away. That's how everything worked with me. I had to hear it and feel it with the instinct thing. I got into a situation with Jake the Snake where he had his snake pit. It was an interview show. We did something there, which was the beginning of a major storyline for Jake and myself. We went to Providence and we worked one night, and that was pretty much it. It was like we were at a funeral. I just realized that something wasn't clicking, and we kind of moved on and moved past it. I don't know what it was. There was a Hulk Hogan style at the time that was really easy, and there were several trains of thought with probably about 6 or 7 ways to go to make things perfect. For some reason, Jake and I did not fit in any of those categories. I tried my best, he tried his best, but we just couldn't dance with each other. It wasn't right. I just didn't want to run this thing out for 6 months to a year when there were so many other people like the Macho Man and everybody else, and it was so red hot. It just didn't work. So, Jake, what's your immediate reaction to hearing that?
Well, that really hurts. It really hurts, and it bothers me that he didn't have enough confidence in me to make it work. I think that if we had sat down and had a 10-minute conversation before we went out and wrestled, then everything could have been different. But we never had that. We didn't sit down and talk. We just went out there and did it.
Who do you put that on? Yourself, Hulk, Vince?
Both of us.
Yeah.
Both of us. I've heard that Hogan has said on other interviews that he wished the hell he had taken the time to work it out with me.
I've heard that too.
That we could have done a lot of business. But I wound up on the losing end of that one, brother, big time.
Well, it's there is a silver lining, which we're going to get into in a minute. But in the meantime, I did want to mention that there was a couple things that really stood out to me about what Hulk had to say here. Let me preface this by saying I was born in October 1986, so I was about 2 months old when this happened, and I have no inside knowledge as to anything. This is just me looking at it from an outsider's perspective. But a few things came off as peculiar to me. First was that Hulk doesn't actually mention being DDT'd by you. He just kind of brushed it off, and he said, you did something there. This has got to be an intentional omission, right?
Oh, sure. I'm sure it is. Pride's a funny thing, man.
Right.
It's okay.
The other thing that really stuck out to me was that Hulk said that the crowd in Providence was like a funeral. We've actually got a clip from this very match, December 30th, 1986 against Hogan. I'll play it now. The audio is not great, but it does not sound like the crowd is dead to me. And why would they be? It was a sold out building. It was the ultimate good guy against the ultimate bad guy. And check out the end. Ken Resnick is going to reference the last tape of the DDT. The audio isn't great, but that crowd does not sound dead to me.
Well, you saw it for yourselves, obviously. Hulk Hogan stealing a page from Jake the Snake Roberts' bag of tricks. And after what happened earlier in the Snake Pit, I don't think anyone could really blame him. But the rematch is set regardless. Providence Civic Center, Thursday night, January the 29th. Hulk Hogan against Jake the Snake Roberts, the heavyweight title on the line, and Danny Davis is the man appointed referee.
I mean, he's a fucking cheater, Jake. He threw powder in your eyes.
Well, it's obvious. I don't know if that was cocaine or what, but
whatever it was.
Yeah, he got me.
It was not legal.
No, it wasn't.
What do you remember about the audience reaction? Because they sounded pretty lively.
They were there,
right?
But as far as what could have been, a lot of things could have been. Hell, I could have beat Hogan for the belt. That could have happened, but it didn't.
That's the outcome a lot of our listeners wanted here, and it was reflected in a lot of the questions that we were asked. Was like, Jake should have had a run with it during this time.
I think I should have too, but I didn't, and that's okay, man. That's okay.
Well, the last thing that stood out to me was that he said he didn't want to run this thing out for 6 months. Now, my impression was always that Vince heard the booze and just put the kibosh on the whole thing because, you don't want to put your top moneymaker in that position. But the way that Hogan is framing it here, it sounds a little bit more like it was his choice. Can you tell us, you don't have any inside knowledge on whose choice that was?
I don't. I know that he just wasn't happy with the match because I didn't do the same old shit. And I think if we had talked for 5 or 10 minutes before the match, all those things could have been covered,
right?
And there wouldn't have been any damn problems. And I'd have went out there and did the same old shit, because in hindsight, that cost me a lot of damn money, and shame on me for not taking the easy way out.
So Vince essentially told you that you were screwed on the 10th.
Yeah.
But here you are in Providence on the 30th. You're wrestling him. So, I mean, over the course of those 20 days, are you like, okay, maybe I can convince Vince that he should go with this thing?
I was going out there and giving them the match that I thought was going to make me heel and make this thing work. And obviously, that's not the way everybody felt, and I know we got the 2 shots. I don't know why those still happened, but maybe they wanted to see, well, maybe if we go to a house show, it won't be like that, But it was. It was. They were chanting DDT from the beginning to the end.
Was there a lot
of bastards?
There's a silver lining, and we're almost there. What was your communication like with Hulk over the course of that 20 days? Did you talk to him at all?
None.
Well, so Hulk said that you guys worked one night, but as we know, that's not exactly true. You guys worked in Providence again on January 29th, where you took a clean loss, and you're up in Canada in February.
Right.
By the time you meet him again later in Providence, you have to know that this whole thing is just fucked, right? By
I know it's dead. It's dead. Yeah.
Man, what a shame.
Oh man, it broke my heart, man. Are you kidding? That's like seeing the silver spoon and getting it right to your lips, and then it's taken away from you.
How was the reaction when you wrestled up in Canada?
Same.
All DDT chants?
Yeah, man.
Oh boy. Well,
you know how the French are.
They love they love the heels.
Yeah, they do.
Well, you weren't a heel for long. They turned you babyface in early '87.
Yeah.
And I've heard you say before that put you in a position where you're basically just getting guys ready for Hogan, right?
Yeah, that's what my job was. If they wanted Hogan, we were running 3 towns at the time, but 2 major ones.
Mm-hmm.
So you had your A town and your B town, both of them big cities. Hogan would be in one, and I'd be in the other. My job was to get beat by the guy I was wrestling, so the next time they had a show there, it would be him against Hogan.
Right.
The guy would have had a clean win against me, and he'd be with Hogan. Meanwhile, I would be in the other town doing the same thing again, getting beat by somebody, so I can get him ready for Hogan. I made more money flat on my back than anybody ever has. I'll tell you that.
I think a lot of people on paper would look at this and say like, oh, well, he went from being the guy who was going to wrestle Hogan to getting guys ready to wrestle Hogan.
Yeah.
Like he must have been pissed off. But no, like the reality here is that like now you're the number 2 guy, number 2 baby face in the company. You're probably making a small fortune. And as you said, you're like, okay, I'll look at the lights. Just pay me.
I was doing all right, man. And I didn't mind doing what I was doing. If that's what my job is, I'm going to do the very damn best I can.
Right.
And I took great pride in it, and I went out and worked hard every night. And Hogan used to tell me that he loved being in the same town as I was in, because if I was there, he knew that he could go on 4th and go home, and I would close the show. Nobody else could do that. Nobody else had enough going for him to do that.
To keep the audience up by the end of the show.
So Hogan loved it.
It's that time of year, boys and girls. Can you believe it? I know I can. I know what you're thinking. This is going to be expensive. How am I going to pay for all this? Have you seen the economy lately? Can we put Christmas on pause? You can't. It's going to be here sooner rather than you think. And I'm here to help at SaveWithConrad.com. How's this for starters? No house payments for 2 months. You don't have to make a payment in December. You're done until January. And come January, you're going to have a happier new year. Because it'll be with no credit card debt. It'll be with lower monthly payments. We can knock out your car payment. We can get rid of your second mortgage. We can pay off all your credit cards. We can get you the cash you need to turn your house into your dream home. And do it with no money out of pocket. Don't get stressed out about the holidays. Just go to SaveWithConrad.com right now. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket. It just takes a few minutes to get started. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Serious business. Get a lower monthly payment. Make this the best Christmas ever. Skip your next 2 house payments at SaveWithConrad.com.
Well, we're at the silver lining part, Jake, and that's it. This babyface turn opens up a world of merchandising opportunities and stuff from a PR standpoint.
Yeah.
So we hear all the time about the money that people were making off of merch back in those days.
Yeah.
There was one where somebody said that the Iron Sheik made $80,000 in a quarter off of his action figures.
That's back when they were paying guys for
it. Right.
Well, Vince did a smart thing, You got paid per toy. But Vince, being the man that he is, realized, here's what I got to do. I'm going to charge the company less per toy, but for that little WWF logo, they're going to pay through the fucking nose for it.
Oh,
so he dropped the prices from, say, $1 a figure to 20 cents a figure.
Oh, no.
And of course, we got the 20 cents.
That is brutal.
It is brutal, man.
Well, even so, it's, as I'm growing up as a kid, I see like your little Hasbro figures, the LJN. So there's all these toys, T-shirts, all that stuff. Do you think that this babyface turn and the subsequent merchandise helped you to recoup some of that lost money?
Not much of it.
You think that a year or 6 months working shows with Hogan could have netted you more overall?
Oh, my God, yeah. Oh, my God. Are you kidding?
Wow.
Yeah. That's one thing Vince did. If you wrestled Hogan, you got paid. I mean, big. You'd have some $5,000 paydays.
And then I suppose you could have had your cake and eaten it too, but with a babyface turn later down the road.
Yeah, well, that babyface turn was fine and dandy. I mean, we did wind up wrestling in a tag team one time.
Yourself and Hulk.
Yeah, myself and Hulk and Demolition.
That's right. Survivor Series 1989.
Right. But being Jake, Vince came to me and told me the idea. The idea was to get a bigger snake. So whenever they played our ring music, Hogan could hold the head, I could be second, and Demolition would be third and fourth. And we would all carry the snake to the ring. Right?
Right.
My mind said, Jake, do not let this happen. Because if these guys are holding the snake, why can't anybody else hold it? Because I never let anybody hold it. Everybody was afraid of the snake. But now all of a sudden, these guys are going to be carrying it to the ring like it's no big deal. So me and my evil thinking got a hold of the snake handler, who I was very tight with, and said, dude, we got a problem. And then I told him what the deal was, and oh, he was furious. He was furious. Nobody's going to touch the snake but you. Nobody. Okay, we got to figure out something, man. What can we do? Well, I said, can we get a bigger snake, one that's so fucking big that they won't want nothing to do with it? Oh, yeah, I've got the perfect one. No problem. So we go to the building that night, and, before a pay-per-view, they check the time for everything. They want to time how long it takes you to get from the back to the ring, So they play our ring music, and we'd go to the ring. And they'd mark that down. That's how long it took. So Vince tells me, hey, Jake, where's the snake at? I said, well, I've seen the guy, but I haven't seen the snake yet. And that was the truth. So I found the guy, and I said, where's the snake at? And he points at this humongous crate that is sitting on the side. I'm talking 5 feet tall, 5 feet wide.
That's a big snake in there.
Wooden crate, reinforced. And so Vince says, well, get it out so we can do it. He started getting the top off of it, and all of a sudden the top exploded, and that snake came out, and his head was this big around.
Oh, my God.
This snake was 27 feet long, weighed 350 pounds.
Oh, my God.
It could have swallowed me. The handler grabbed the snake in a headlock, and the snake picked him up and slammed him on the concrete. And that's when Hogan and everybody else is running for their fucking lives, including Vince. Put that fucking thing away. I'm like, I'm trying. Jesus Christ, man. And meanwhile, the snake decides to fucking shit. And it shits, and it's the foulest smelling shit. Oh, my God, brother. It was horrible. They had to mop all that shit up, and it just never went away. If a snake shits on you, it doesn't go away, man. It's just going to smell for, days.
Oh, God.
But that was the end of us carrying that snake to the ring.
Well, you got what you wanted. They didn't want to.
I did. Yes, I did.
So I'm in shock that he was able to get you a snake that big in the first place.
God.
My goodness.
This guy could do anything.
That's incredible. Are you still in contact with the guy?
No, I haven't. The last time I talked to him was when the hurricane had devastated Miami years ago, and I called him because he was down there working in a alligator farm and snake farm, and his job was to, of course, keep an eye on all the animals, but also to milk the poisonous snakes and sell that to drug companies.
Mm.
And they had everything. They had all the poisonous snakes you can think of, from rattlesnakes, different types of rattlesnakes, to vipers, to cobras, to everything. And when that hurricane hit, it flattened that whole thing. And I called Albert, and I said, man, are you all right? He goes, am I all right? He goes, I'm having the best time of my life. I'm like, how can you be having the best time of your life? I get to go look for all those things. That's fun. Oh, yeah, I love doing it. So it's fun digging through hurricane wreckage and looking for poisonous snakes. That's what you like for fun. Yeah.
They don't make a lot of guys like that, Jake.
No, he was strange, brother. He was real strange.
Well,
too strange.
So yeah, you were a baby face. You worked with Hulk at Survivor Series. The next time you'd work with Hulk is in early '92. Some tag team situations. You teamed up with your old pal John Nord in Amarillo against him and Savage. You and Taker against Hogan and Savage. And that would actually it would be February 10th, '92. That would mark the final time that you'd work in the ring with Hulk. And not long after, Jake, you're gone, and then about a year later, Hulk is gone. You know, he was such an infallible force in that company for so many years. When you hear that he's gone, what's your reaction?
I was definitely blown away.
Right.
Blown completely away. I don't know how in the hell he walked away from the package that he had. You know, maybe the package wasn't close to what he wanted anymore after the Warrior took the title. I know that Vince always paid whoever had the title got paid. That's for sure. And if you were wrestling that guy, you got paid. Other than that, man, the money was kind of thin. So maybe that's what happened. Maybe the money got so thin that Hulkster said, I can do better than this. And of course, I'm sure a lot of it had to do with WCW just making him a deal that he just couldn't say no to.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know how that works. People get offered the whole kit and caboodle, man.
So rumor has it they made him a very attractive offer, especially with some of the shared revenue on pay-per-views. He pops up there in '94. Did you see any of this stuff that he was doing then? Were you watching it all?
No, I wasn't watching much of it at all.
Well, you weren't missing much. It was a pretty lackluster run, and they were doing some really weird shit. I love Kevin Sullivan as a booker. I think he's a genius of a guy. Yeah. But yeah, some of the stuff they were doing was really bizarre. But Jake, by '96, you're back in the WWF, and the wrestling world has changed down in Atlanta because Hogan turns heel with the NWO. Yeah. I'm guessing you were a little bit too busy doing your own thing to watch.
Yeah, I was, man.
But what did you think when you heard about him turning heel?
I loved it. And I'm sure he loved it, man. There's nothing worse, man, than having to be a babyface. Oh my God, I hate it. As a babyface, you're shackled as to what you can do because the fans expect certain things. You know, your trademark moves have to be done every night. You know, like Hogan with the big foot, he didn't like doing it, but he had to do it because that was part of his shtick. You know, and your expectations, man. You got to kiss babies. You got to be nice to people. Yada, yada, yada. You got to do things the good guy way. Whereas as a heel, that opens the door to do any damn thing you want, man. You can change yourself in any way you want to. You know, and I'm sure Hogan loved this time of his career. I'm sure he was so into this, finally getting able to go out there and give the people a hard time. Oh my God, are you serious? Of course he loved it.
Man, what a resurgence. 43 years old, and now all of a sudden he's completely transforming this character that he's just gone all over the world with. Now, I do want to ask too, you know, back around like WrestleMania 6 with the whole Warrior thing, Hogan says that he pitched Vince the idea of turning heel following the loss to Warrior and actually becoming Hollywood Hogan then. I mean, back in those days, do you think it could have worked him in the WWF as a heel?
It would have been hard. Harder than it was to do it down south. Once he stepped away from the WWE, he's free. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, free at last, you know, that type of thing. And I'm sure he was ready to turn heel and throw all that shit down the toilet and just be himself and go out and have fun again. Because it gets old doing the same shtick every night, man. Come on, think about it. Same damn crap every night, you know, pointing at the people and come up, you know. Jesus Christ.
Man, all over the country for like a decade.
All over the world, not just the country,
right. Yeah.
Man.
My God.
Japan was so hot for him, man. Europe was so hot for him.
Well, so at this time, you know, you're in the WWF, as I mentioned, and you're seeing this happening. And in the meantime, the WWF is really kind of struggling. Was there any thought in your mind, like, okay, maybe if things don't work out here, maybe I could go back to WCW?
No, I could not go back to WCW.
There was a lawsuit or something, right?
Yeah. I won the lawsuit, but should have listened to my lawyer. He said that I should have taken the money that I had coming to me and more, pain and suffering and yada, 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 and have a job written into the contract. But at the time, I was so full of shit and so high, I didn't realize what I was doing. In those days, brother, I was a mess.
Yeah, it's I know that you were having a rough time during that era, and
We'd separated. My wife and I had separated, and I went off the deep end, man.
So the business was the last thing from your mind, I'm sure. Even
I didn't care about anything other than getting high. When I was high, I could forget about everything.
It is fun to think about you as a member of the NWO and feuding with your buddy DDP or Crow Sting or the Horseman or something. It's a real what if, I think, for a lot of wrestling fans.
Oh yeah, sure it is, man. But sometimes you don't get what you want, man.
That's it, brother. Well, we are very close to the finish line here. I just want to ask real quick, when he pops back up in the WWF in 2002, I know that you were doing your own thing at that time, but did you hear about any of the stuff that he was doing with The Rock or Triple H?
Yeah, I heard about it. I realized, he's going up there and he's doing the smart thing. He's going up there and getting all the crumbs off the table, man, because there was still something for him to do. Get The Rock over, get Triple H over, and pass the baton.
Man, he got one more run on top with the undisputed title, which not a lot of people get to have. I mean, at the time, he's 48. Were you shocked to hear Vince is going with this older guy? Vince has always been like I want to go young guy.
Yeah, but there's some things you can't deny, man. And Hogan was one. When he went back up there and they put the title back on him, Christ, man, are you serious?
Pretty wild.
That was a mistake.
I would say so too, especially with a bunch of young emerging stars there.
Yeah.
And eventually, Brock Lesnar wound up grabbing that. All right, Jake, let's jump into some fan questions and then we'll get out of here. Yeah. Adam Arpin on Ad Free Shows has a really fun hypothetical. He says, if you had gone back to WCW in 97, this is kind of close to what I was asking. Instead of ECW, creatively, do you think you would have been in the NWO or more have an opportunity to face Hogan finally?
I think maybe I would have had an opportunity to face Hogan as a babyface. No way they could turn me heel. Everybody tried.
That's going to be the issue. Coming in the door, everybody's going to be excited to see you, so you'd almost have to be a babyface.
Yeah.
Instagram, a wrestling historian on Twitter asks, if the feud hadn't been canceled, was it leading to a WWF title shot on Saturday night's main event? Did you have the inside knowledge on where it was going?
No, I did not. No, I'm sure if had it ran its course, I would have been on everything with Hogan for 4 or 5 months every night. So again, what if?
That was my thought too, is man, if you think about it, a 6-month program, we're starting in December, could have made it all the way to WrestleMania.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably culminated in WrestleMania.
Yep. Chip Maxley on Twitter.
Not a bad place to do it.
That would have been all right. Probably a decent payoff too.
Yes, sir.
Chip Maxley on Twitter asks, do you think there could have been something something that you could have done to Hulk that would have gotten the people to hate you, or was it just snake bit, pun intended, from the beginning?
Yeah, I think something could have been done. I think they could have brought something in there and, slapping Elizabeth was one thing, but there's always something else that could have been done. Whether it would have been bringing his kid in and getting his kid involved or something personal. It would have to be something very personal.
Right.
Maybe do something where I do something with the snake and then the snake is banned and I retaliate by slapping one of his family members or DDTing his kid. Something.
That would do it. DDT on the kid would definitely do it.
Especially if it was the daughter.
Wow. that is a wild thought.
That would have been awesome, the DDT on both at the same time.
Oh my God. And Hogan's tied up in the ropes or something.
Right.
Can't do it. Man, that would have been wild.
That would have been it.
All right, last question for the week, then we'll take care of a little business. Jake, how do you feel? Oh, I'm sorry, this is from Johnny Gringo 7 on Twitter. how do you feel about Hogan personally? We kind of covered that a little bit, but let me ask a similar question. Jake, how do you feel about Hogan nowadays?
Oh, he's fine with me, man. I love the guy. I mean, I think what he did for wrestling, nobody could have done except him.
There's no doubt about it, and there's no doubt that we're having a lot of fun here in the Snake Pit with Jake Roberts. And Jake, on the next episode of the Snake Pit, we're going to let our listeners take control of the podcast with a fan favorite. We're doing Ask Jake Anything.
I love it.
Yep, those are always fun. We're going to put it out on Twitter.
I love it.
You can check it out at Snake Pit Pod. We're going to put those questions out this week, and fans can respond with questions for a chance to have their question answered on the podcast. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@SnakePitPod. There's no better way to introduce somebody to the Snake Pit than by getting them over there for quick samples of what our show's about. And while you're there, like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell. It helps us out, and you won't miss any of the new content we're dropping or any of the archives from DDP Snake Pit. Also, if you've enjoyed our podcast, please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review on all podcast platforms, because that really helps us a bunch. Also, a reminder, you can get the Snake Pit and all the other shows in our network early and ad-free at adfreeshows.com, starting at just $9 a month. That's less than 15 cents an episode each month. Plus, tons of bonus content, interactive chats with your favorite hosts, wrestling personalities, and much more. Head over to adfreeshows.com today and sign up. You can catch Jake on Twitter at JakeSnakeDDT, on Instagram at JakeTheSnakeDDT, and on Facebook at Real Jake the Snake. Guys, Christmas is here.
Cameo time, man.
Yeah, you cannot do better than a cameo from Jake, right?
Let me be your Santa. Oh boy, can I fix you up?
Man, you just go to cameo.com/Jake Snake and watch some of the reviews, watch some of the stuff that Jake has done before.
Yes.
He puts a lot of effort into these, and it's such a cool, unique gift for the wrestling fan in your life. You can also get some pretty cool, unique gifts for the wrestling fan in your life over at JakeTheSnakeShop.com. He's got all kinds of stuff over there. And guess what, guys? It's all signed by Jake himself. And he'll personalize it. You can follow me at Marcus P. D'Angelo on Twitter. You can follow the podcast on all podcasts or on all social media platforms at Snake Pit Pod. Jake, episode 2 in the books.
Peace be on you. God, I love you guys, regardless of how bad you screwed me. Thank you.
We love you, Jake. Thanks. And we'll catch you next time right here on the Snake Pit.